Hey guys, Jerry here sharing my manifesto that I have developed over the past 5 weeks through this MOOC. As an old music teacher of mine once said, music is a lifelong apprenticeship. That has and always will stick with me for the rest of my life. The more and more I devote myself to and immerse myself into the world that is music, whereby it be from the role as an educator or from the more cathartic performer, the more I really understand the merit in what he said. As an apprentice, you make a commitment to on-the-job training for a designated amount of time, to follow suit for your mentors in continuing that said trade. Something that has really only recently clicked to me through this MOOC, and probably the greatest piece of advice that I would now offer any fellow musician or educator, is to be open to the idea of learning from your students rather than remaining behind this whole I'm the teacher so I know all facade, which unfortunately I'm sure we have all encountered at one point or another. I know I sure have. The thoughts that have been provoked and discussed in the past 5 weeks has really helped me to realize that now, and that not only do we never really stop learning, but we should accept that. And I feel like that's the secret to being a good educator. There's no wonder that a successful business plan for the music industry doesn't exist yet, considering how fast technology is advancing with the development of innovative software and just how quickly and diverse emerging genres are these days. How the music industry was running 5 years ago, let alone what was trending 5 years ago in music, is very different from today. And if you don't believe me, Triple J's Hottest 100 lists are public information. So how does this all tie into what I've taken away from the MOOC? There are two fundamental ideas that I've taken away with me, and that I'd like to start to implement into my teaching philosophy and practice ASAP. The first is the benefit of utilizing current and popular music trending with the kids within a classroom, and not solely resorting and relying on either textbook suggestions for listening examples or even just following pre-existing programs that have been used over and over, which ultimately in my opinion holds a detriment of using outdated material, which, as the MOOC suggests, is only going to lead to disengagement in the classroom. A recent example that I have done is I've used a popular song by Triple J artist Meg Mac in a Stage 5 elective music class, and I taught a bridge section of one of her songs using an author approach. I found a higher level of engagement never before seen in this class after revealing that Meg Mac herself is, one, not that much older than them, but after explaining that Triple J itself serves as an invaluable opportunity not only to discover new popular music and trending music, but for an ideal avenue for promotion and aspiring musicians to share their own creative projects, especially through Triple J's Unearthed program. Further, I wasn't surprised that a few students in the class were already familiar with the song that I picked, let alone Meg Mac, but what struck me was their eager request to then learn and arrange another song of hers to then perform as a class. So that's what I tasked them with. And right now, over the past few lessons and continue up to now, we're still workshopping one, as if I was hiring them to perform as a covers band. Which actually brings me to my second point. The second point that I took away is the whole structure of project-based learning and how easily adaptable modelling that can be in a music classroom. This kind of coincides with the idea of how open learning actually is, and how often we as educators may actually forget how easily students can acquire information with merely just a few clicks of a button or a few scrolls of their fingers to create and learn for themselves without so much direction from a teacher, really. I guess it kind of dawned on me that some of us are probably implementing project-based learning in our classroom right now, but we weren't actually aware of what it was. I, for one, now want to refine this practice to bring out as much creativity and learning as I can in my students by giving them as much of a real-world experience as I can, like treating them like a band, treating them like I'm hiring for a covers project. So, to conclude, what skills do we need to help bring out technology meaningfully into our classrooms? I feel like it ultimately comes down to being flexible as an educator. So to all experienced teachers out there, don't be afraid to listen to suggestions from younger beginning teachers. Don't be afraid to dedicate some time to listening to what's trending on the radio right now. Don't shy away from listening to Triple J. Don't shy away from asking students what they're into. I recently discovered that us as teachers through the department portal, we get free access to lynda.com. So there's a whole plethora of free courses out there. So we have no excuse to learn how to use different software, for example. The final epiphany this MOOC has really given me is that we are indeed probably the only point in these children's lives where they experience music from an educational standpoint. And to me, as a secondary high school teacher, it's equally stressful as it is motivating, really, because no great results come from little effort in the end, hey? So the harder the challenge, the greater the reward.